So, Mr. Gallup, thank you for having me here today. My name is Kevin Baker. I'm a second year SSW student. This project is a passion of mine that has developed over the last 25 years of my life. It has come to fruition over the last 3 years of my life when I decided to come back to college and make some changes for myself and others in my life. So, without further ado, I'm going to talk to you about three things. I'm going to talk to you about what honor and dignity is. I'm going to talk to you about poverty, and I'm going to talk to you about what it means to have a criminal record in Canada today. Okay? So, Honor and Dignity is an outreach service that aims to break down the barriers associated with employment and education for clients who have criminal records. Poverty is the worst form of violence, okay? And often people with criminal records are in poverty. If you look at, numbers, middle class, upper class, the number of people in that area that have criminal records is nothing compared to the people in poverty. The people in poverty run on a survival mode. So sometimes that means breaking the law. People in upper class and middle class do not have that thought of survival because things are easily accessible to them. Whereas oftentimes in poverty, we make mistakes. Everyone does. People in middle class and upper class situations, they may just be a little smarter with us, or they have more money than us to pay for the things that will get them out of trouble, like pardons or record suspensions. Anyway, poverty defined. We all know what poverty is, correct? Okay, so poverty simply means that I can't afford to take my child to the karate lessons, or what it means basically is having less than what other people have, okay? Poverty is having less, and we all know that. So the vision statement. The program is designed to assist those between the ages of 23 and 55. Now you might say, why has someone decided to put an age limit on there at age 23 and 55? Well, in Canada, when someone is convicted of a crime, there is, under the age of 18, there is the Youth Justice Act. After the age of 18, your record is automatically expunged, deleted. Still there, but no one's ever going to see it. Okay? At the age of 18, you become an adult, which you now go under the Criminal Records Act. Therefore, your record remains with you until you can have it changed by getting a record suspension or a pardon. Now that takes time. With recent changes in legislation, they have made it so, so at 18, they've made it so 5 years for a summary conviction fine, or summary conviction, that you can apply for a pardon. So that would encompass at 18 to 23. So you would be 23 by the time you could apply for a pardon anyway. 55, now I chose that age because at 55, by the time you're 55, at 60, you're going to retire anyway, or, along that line. So it becomes less important to you at that time, or not necessarily less important, but the need isn't necessarily as much as what it is going to be when you're 18 to 55 years of old, or 55 years of age. So that's why that is there as far as a eligibility criteria. The other thing you'll see that I did not include in this is a native aspect of it, or Aboriginal or indigenous. Any reports that I do will show that there are more Indigenous people in jails and more Indigenous people that have criminal records than other nationalities. Now, I feel if I bring this into this program, it will further marginalize my people. Okay, I do not believe for 1 second the facts that they have are represented the way they should be. And the research that I shows that our people are misrepresented in the present prison system and in our communities. So therefore, I will not disclude the information that I have researched on the Aboriginal, or will I include it in this report. But I will include Aboriginals as well as any other race in accessing the services that they are entitled to and should be granted. Okay, also, the goal of this is we intend to create a comprehensive list of employers who will hire people that have criminal records. Now, the reason for that is because oftentimes people who have criminal records will go someplace and they'll look for a job. They'll go and they'll say, "Are you hiring?" They'll say, "Yeah, fill out this application form." And right on that application form it says, "Do you have a criminal record?" What happens? Person says, "Well, I don't need to fill this out anymore because I'm not getting hired," and they turn around frustrated, pissed off, and they leave. Full of resentment and regret from past mistakes, right? So, okay. The need. Okay, so I talk about outreach. Outreach to me is being able to go to places where our people are that need these services. John Howard Society, Gleaners Food Bank, Grace in Shelter, and Salvation Army in From the Cold, Bridge Street United Church, any place where people in these positions are struggling and not knowing where to turn, whether they want education or whether they want some help getting a job or whether they just need somebody to help them figure out how to do a resume. Or where do I start for a job search? I have no idea. And you know what? Everywhere I go, well, as soon as they find out I have a criminal record, they don't want to help me anymore. So hence, this is what I have on. So what I suggest is that any Canadian who has a criminal record and wants to apply for a job, because Stephen Harper did this to us in 2012 when he declared that we all had to have vulnerable sector checks and police record checks. We had to declare this for all employers. I suggest that any person with a criminal record, we might as well wear this garb into any place we go to apply for a job. And then they can just tell us to get the hell out because, well, they're telling us that anyway. It's just going to save a whole hell of a lot of time, and I'm not going to bother filling out with your paperwork. So this is the frustration level that I feel, and others like me feel. So, under the human rights, under our human rights, the right to work is the major thing. Okay, so there's a direct conflict with criminal records and whether we have the right to work. Well, do we have the right to work? Because, I don't know, your government just told us that if we have a criminal record, you don't have to hire us. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, that's where honor and dignity comes in. Okay, we're going to change this. Okay, so this is what a criminal record. A criminal record implies that time has been served and punishment carried out. Well, that's okay. That sounds great, doesn't it? I did my time. I'm done. I can move on with my life. But that's not the case. Now I got to get this pardon thing. And if I don't get it, then I'm going to be screwed. I'm going to not get a job. My housing's going to be screwed because they got questions on there. Do you have a criminal record? They want to know who you hang out with, everything, right? So, you know, and the financial and emotional stressors, man, do you know what it does to your family? I don't know if you've ever had to tell your kid that you can't go on a school trip with them because they want that vulnerable sector checked. You know, and even though you may not have anything to do with kids, it doesn't have anything to do with a record against children or anything along those lines. It's the fact you have a criminal record, and that criminal record may be for stealing a chocolate bar when you were 18 years old, or maybe for an impaired driving, or a hit and run, or whatever it may be. It doesn't matter. You're still not going to be able to go with that class on that school trip with your kid, you know? I don't know, 20 years later, should your kid pay for what you did? It's not fair. So, life chances. Okay. This is big, right? So in poverty, life chances. We often hear about life chances in poverty. So now you throw a criminal record into a person's life chances, and now you've got more issues than you can ever deal with. Or you need help dealing with, and that's where honor and dignity again is here. Finding employment's possibly the most difficult problem, which I've already explained, and hence the outfit, hence the records. But it goes beyond that. It goes to how much money you're gonna make, right? So for me, or for other individuals that have criminal records, your income is rather limited, to say the least. So you're not going to get a job as a doctor or a lawyer as a criminal record, with a criminal record, unless you've had a pardon. And we'll get into the whole pardon thing in a moment. But your life chances are so limited. Okay, so you know, not to mention your education and your training and volunteer experiences and so on and so forth. So volunteer and placement experiences. So, okay, I'm going to use myself as an example here. Everybody in this class knows where I've been at for the last 3 placements, right? Everybody knows why that is, I'm assuming. Does anybody know? I'll tell you why that is. Because Loyalist College has 2 placements at this school for people with criminal records. That is Gleaners Food Bank and the Salvation Army. Okay, there are no other options. Is that fair as somebody who comes from, you know, the same places as most people in this college, making the same strides as everybody in this college, getting the same grades as everybody in this college. But because I made a mistake 15 years ago, I get Gleaners Food Bank, or I get Salvation Army. I chose Gleaners Food Bank, and it was one of the best decisions I've made in my entire life. Gleaners Food Bank has shown me and offered me a lot of insight on this project. It has put me in direct contact with people with criminal records, as well as homeless people and other people in poverty that are facing the same struggles as myself and others who I know. You know, criminal records are big, and people who have them need help, and I'm here to help them. So, social stigma. Did you know 10% of Canadians have criminal records? 10%, that's pretty big, right? Obviously, you know, I put myself out here because I really don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me, okay? So I'll be the first one to tell you that I have a criminal record. And if you handle it, you handle it, and if you don't, I really don't give a shit. So here it is. I can handle the stigma. There's so many of us that can't. You know, it plays with our heads. It's depressing. You know, neighbors look at you, friends look at you, they don't trust you, whatever. Okay, and people fear your past behaviors, man. They think you're gonna do it again, right? Always. There's that. So this is criminal records and human rights, and I cannot think of one thing on here that is not in direct conflict with someone who has a criminal record. Nothing. There's not one. Okay, so you've heard me talk about a record suspension, right? Just to explain that real brief, a record suspension allows people who were convicted of a criminal offense but have completed their sentence and demonstrated that they are a law-abiding citizen for a prescribed number of years to have their criminal record kept separate apart from other criminal records. Which basically means that it's always going to be there, but no one's ever going to see it. It's locked away. Okay? Yeah, so a history of record suspensions. First implemented in the 70s, it was called a pardon, okay? And the cost of that was $50 at the time, and it was generally granted within a year. So unchanged until 2010, when the conservative government came in and started their changes. Now, it says 2012 here, but the changes actually started in 2010, and I have another slide that will show that. But the name was changed from a record suspension, and the prices increased drastically. So in June 2010, it received royal assent to have indictable offenses raised, the wait times raised from 5 to 10 years. Well, I guess if, depending on the crime, right? Depending on what it was, and you know, so that may have been okay. That one really didn't affect me too much. It was the following one. This one affected a lot of the people who were in prison and who had more than 3 indictable offenses against them. It really made it so they weren't going to be employable. You know, we're talking people who were murderers, people who have more than one aggravated assaults or manslaughters or rapists or you know, child pornography, that kind of thing. So this is, and for people like Karla Homolka, you know, this is where, this is where they thought they needed to make this. What was his name? Colin James? No, not Colin James. The coach. Do you remember the?
Fear and Flurry.
Yeah. So anyway, the hockey coach that was involved with this, with all these
10 years or something.
Yeah, with all these children and that had grown up in the hockey, and he was a hockey coach. Anyway,
Sheldon Kennedy.
Yeah. So they had decided they needed to get tough on this type of behavior, and they revamped this in 2010 mainly because of Karla Homolka and this Mr. James.
Kevin, 4 to 5 minutes.
Okay, sure. So the major changes, like I said, $50 to $150 to $631 currently. Okay, so a lot of people can't afford that $631. Okay, testimonials. this guy says, Williams can't afford the cost of the pardon application, which was raised to $631. I worked as a laborer before hurting his back. He's now on social assistance. He's not, it's been more than 25 years since he was convicted, right? He learned his lesson. He's been a law-abiding citizen, but he's still being punished, right? This one here, college student, did 5 years in the pen, comes out, thinks everything's gonna be better, few years later, goes to college, wants to go to college, get his life back on track. Well, he finds out, 1, he can't get a placement, 2, well, it's gonna be another 4 years because of the new legislation that's come into effect. So put his life on hold. This one, like myself, but one of the toughest consequences of a criminal record is the impact on her sons. After incarceration, they don't know about what prison is, and they beg for her to come out to the school to volunteer. Can't do it, right? Because she has the criminal record. So the goal is to assist these clients with criminal records and gaining access to employment and education. And again, to create that list of employment and placement agencies that can assist in hiring or accepting volunteers. And to assist eligible clients with accessing record suspensions by breaking down barriers associated with obtaining one. To provide clerical assistance with the application and funding for the application if the client meets the eligibility. Okay, so how am I going to pay for the cost of a record suspension? So our plan is to have an annual event called the Green Ribbon Gala. The Green Ribbon Gala will be a ball focused on, it'll be a different event every year based on the season. So we'll have Christmas in Alcatraz, we'll have Christmas in different prisons at QDC or something along that line to raise funds. It will be licensed and it will be catered by local restaurants. And all proceeds, tickets, $30 per person or $50 a couple, and all proceeds will go directly to Honor and Dignity to assist clients in obtaining record suspensions. So, my budget. My budget, Mr. Gallup, is simple. I'm not asking for money other than for the cost of setting this agency up. This cost is a 1-year pilot project that I may be back next year asking you to extend my funding. But at this point, sir, I'm only asking you for 1 year's worth of funding because I would need to see where this goes. I need to find my success rate. I need to know if there is a success rate. So, and if I have a 65% turnout, I will be back next year to ask you for your continued support. So today, sir, I ask you to remove these barriers and take off what it takes to become a productive member of the of society for me and other Canadians. Thank you.
Just before you leave, Kevin,
Okay.
just a couple of things. One, I really like the idea of you compiling a list of employers who will accept individuals who have a criminal record or who are in the process of applying for a record suspension. I like that idea. So you'll have this bank of employers.
Sure.
And by the way, some of those employers, they themselves may have criminal records.
Absolutely.
It makes no difference.
Absolutely.
The other thing I'd like you to do is form a partnership with Loyalist College and with all of the programs at Loyalist College to assist the program coordinators in finding placements across the community, across the four county region where most people do placements, beyond the four counties is fine too. But to find placements for individuals who do have a record. And placements where they really want to go and have a good experience and so on, but also to educate employers in our communities who take placement students so that they're more knowledgeable and willing to give a second, third, or fourth chance. By the grace of God, we all go, and so we all need extra chances in life.
Sure.
And so I see your role as the director as being one of educating and helping pave the way. I'd like you to tone the notch down a little bit on the passion level. It's
Sure.
pretty strong.
Sure.
I mean, it's great energy though, I gotta tell you. But just turn it down a notch because you might scare some people away from what the message is.
Sure.
I, for one, really appreciate the message and your presentation is